What if the biggest thing holding you back today is not a strategy problem? What if it's a communication problem? And so, whether you're a business owner, manager, employee, clear communication is the skill that drives alignment, trust, and results in the office and at home. So, welcome to Professional Insights, brought to you by the National Referral Network. I am Mike Clark, and today's guest, Jamie Miller, is the founder of The Art of Conscious Communication. He's a published author, national sales trainer, and performance coach who helps people get to that clarity in terms of communication. But before we get started, hit that like and subscribe button. All Jamie's information will be in the description if you want to reach out to him directly. But with all of that said, let's get started. Morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Mike.
How are you this morning?
Well, you happen to know where I'm at. I wonder what your audience would think how does the audience feel about if they were working from St. Thomas, just like with the boats in the background and stuff, and having a fun? Well, would they see that as fun?
I think they would. I don't think anybody would turn that down. So yeah, I love it. I appreciate the time. I know that you're having a good time. And I love the description of living life by design. But with all that, let's jump into this. So Jamie, your company is The Art of Conscious Communication, which is very powerful. It's very clear. What inspired you to focus on this type of work with communication specifically?
Okay, so I started my entrepreneurial journey a bit, well, when I say later than some, earlier than others. At 42 years of age, I had what I call my Jerry Maguire moment. I don't know how old your audience is, all right? Yep. But I had a sleepless night in 2018 on where does Jamie Miller have belief in himself, can get other people to believe that he can help them, and where they will place a high value. And one of those things for 2 decades, scarily enough, all I did was study everyone I ever had a conversation with and the different responses and reactions I got from them, Mike. And so from stages, I would study group spaces, and then in individual conversations, any conversations I had in calling up someone I'd never spoken to before. And I just basically created a curriculum that I was then able to teach people what I knew, what I had achieved. And thankfully, 6 years later, I get to do great things such as this with individuals like yourself, Mike. And it's really just communication. If I ask anyone on the planet, do they value communication? Everyone in the world says yes.
Everyone.
The only dilemma is it's funny. Some people self-confess will say they're like gift of the gab, like they were born from the right family. And I always fascinate me because I studied for 2 decades and invested tons of money into how to communicate. And now I teach people. And, I'll ask people, do they value it? Yes. What investment have you ever made into learning it? And it's very little, Mike. Yeah, I always look for the 3% club of the world. Is what I would share.
So in your studies, Jamie, where do you see most professionals unknowingly create confusion when they think about being clear and communicating? Because it's a challenge.
Okay, the biggest one, hands down. All right. If you notice, you said, "How are you?" For example. Okay. I didn't just start telling you a bunch of things. I on purpose consciously posed the question of the audience because they're the ones listening in, and they now have to debate. He did post a question of us, which now gets higher interaction. So based on the question you just asked, the biggest amateur play in communication I see, hands down, is the overshare and talking too much. If people are naturally passionate about what they do for a living, which they are, that person finds themselves talking too much. So they don't have any control of a conversation, all right, because they're talking. They're usually teaching too much. So usually what happens at the end of that is people approach them, thank you for sharing all that great information. I'm now going to go and do things for myself. And then they get told in the world, tell value. Well, I teach extract value. Rather than me tell someone you need to be better in communication, I would go, hey, Mike, what benefit would you get if there was one in particular, being better in your communication? I'll let you do all the talking. So since you asked, it's talking too much. Telling someone statements, crossing their fingers, hoping and praying, something they share. Rather than you say, for example, I've been a financial advisor for 20 years, that's a statement.
Right.
If you tweak it into a question, hey, let's say I've been involved in this business for 20 years. Would that give you a sense of confidence that I might know what I'm talking about? Completely different. And then if they say yes, then you say why. And now you get the client to tell you why your 20 years are important.
Okay. So
are you following? Did you follow along?
I am. And this is one, because you and I spoke about this. This is where one of these times where we're going to go off on a tangent.
Right.
Because what I've heard is, I mean, listening is obviously a big part of communication. Listening to respond is a problem. If I'm just listening to you with the intent of responding, how does somebody build the skill to listen and actually respond accordingly versus just responding with my personal information or trying to talk too much?
Okay, so look, I put this down to, and unfortunately it's not in abundance in society. I say emotional intelligence is the most sexiest intelligence on the planet.
Right.
Whether you're a financial advisor to what have you, if you have emotional intelligence, you have the capacity to listen to another person, all right, more intently. What conscious communication, what it is for me is, I know I'm going to ask a question that's going to steer a conversation and get the other person to open up and elaborate where necessary.
Uh-oh. Oh.
Second, can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are. Yeah, you're back.
Okay. I apologize. I wish I could apologize. All right.
I mean, you're in St. Thomas. Like, what's going to happen?
Okay. So just preface, I'm going to keep coming back. All right. To this. All right.
Absolutely.
So with regards to conscious communication, it's asking the questions you want the answer to. All right. And so if I'm going to ask a question I want the answer to, it's in my interest to listen intently to that person. It's not just basic sales 101. We got 2 ears, 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we speak.
Right.
All right. I know that every industry, especially yours, is the most emotional sell on the planet. So we can't make things logic. If you ask someone, you know, what do you want from life? And they just say, I want to make more money. And the financial advisor just writes down more money. And then you ask, what do you want to do with that money? Well, I want to reinvest the money. I want to reinvest the money. You're still at a logical place. Let me say, I tell you what, once you invested all that money, then what do you want to do? Well, then I want to go away and I do the things I want. Terrific. Where do you want to go away in an ideal world? Oh, Hawaii. Oh, why did you pick that? All right. And now I'm going to get them to elaborate on all the things. Here's a cheeky one as a lesson for everyone. If you want someone to elaborate, it's the most fun activity you can do. Fun strategy, as Mike was saying earlier. Right, that you can do on the planet, and you'll smile internally when this works for you. You ask, I could technically turn around to you and say, Mike, what was one thing I've just shared with you that really stuck out? And you'll be like, oh, it was this. And then I'll look with a look of perplexity and just repeat the last word to you. Yeah. And then you're going to feel compelled to go off even more on a tangent. So what your audience, if they repeat the last word with an expression of confusion, like they're looking at like a closed down Waffle House, all right, what will happen is, the client in front of you will go off on a tangent. If they don't continue, just say, hey, can you elaborate on that for me? And now you're getting your client to a more emotional spot. All right. So hopefully that's helpful for your audience if they can digest that kind of lesson.
So Jamie, how does somebody build that confidence to ask that question, right? Because you mentioned emotional intelligence, and it is key. Right. But if we're in a dialogue and the perception in terms of status is that if I'm talking to you and I believe that your status is greater than mine, then how do I build that confidence to ask that question as simple as, can you elaborate on that?
Perfect. So I call this the garnering of understanding. Everyone loves things in threes. First thing, if you want the outcome you want, gather information is the first one. So gathering information, asking questions. The second one, I call it garnering understanding. Just to let people know, the third thing is predictability. It's knowing what reaction you're going to get when you say what you say or ask what you ask. All right. But the garnering understanding, hopefully this is a nugget takeaway for your audience. I did this. I practice what I preach. The other night, I'm in Detroit. I come out of an event and there's a VIP dinner. I come outside 10:29 at night. I happen to run into an individual who's responsible for speakers that get on a stage at an event with 6,000 people. And I want to ask this guy a question. All right. And one of the things I think is lacking in society is people are too scared to ask the more direct question that they want the answer to. Right. So instead of you asking someone, hey, what are you looking for in a financial advisor? That's too generalized because that doesn't involve you, Mike. So if you want the confidence, as you asked, to ask a more bold question, start with this play. I turn around to this guy outside, his name's Kurt, and I'm like, hey, Kurt, have you ever had an interaction before where you left it afterwards, got in your car afterwards and felt this feeling of, oh man, I wish I would have, could have, all right, asked a certain question. He, just like you, just goes, yes. And I've garnered the understanding by putting him in my shoes, just by using the word, has this ever happened for you?
Gotcha.
All right. And the second I ask, has this ever happened for you? Then I get to transition my conversation to, then you're probably going to appreciate my question I'm about to ask you. All right. Do you feel like pretty confident since so-and-so introduced me to you that I should be on the stage at EXPCon 2025? Or do you have to know something about me? And he goes, I love it, with the garnering of understanding. As an example. Mm-hmm. So your audience, if they want to get bold in asking a question, they've got to get even video. People are scared to do social media videos.
Right.
They're better off saying, have any of you ever done one of these videos where you're looking to create a certain outcome and you're looking to do it in one take? So is it okay to be human? You might see some ums and ahs in this video. Now the person watching it is interacting with a question, engaging with a question, rather than a statement of, hey everyone, I'm really nervous right now. I've not done this before, and da 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 da. There's a big difference. The idea is tweak every statement into a question and every feeling you're having into a, has this person ever felt this way? If I turn around to you and I go, have you ever had a situation where you felt nervous? And you say no, you're basically shouting at me. You're the most narcissistic, egotistical individual, and I'm going to run away from you. And I preach to my clients, run away from that person. But if your audience can turn around to someone and say, hey, have you ever left a conversation feeling like, I wish I would have asked something in particular? Person says yes. Now your audience, hopefully, when they watch the shorts or the recording or what have you, they'll comment, oh my God, that's a game changer. All they're doing is garnering a little understanding first.
Well, I'll tell you, Jamie, that's one of the reasons. We've done 113. You're the 113th interview that we've done on a weekly basis. And I'll tell you, the first ones were not good. I mean, we were all over the place. They were bad, but they're still up. And even today, Jamie, I don't cut these up.
Okay.
So
can I let your audience into a secret right
please
now?
Yeah.
When someone says, what's your LinkedIn? I basically turn around to them. I said, yeah, you're probably not going to hire me. All right. Like, cause it's not, I consider myself, I love it when my clients say I'm a secret weapon. I've got some of the most, successful individuals on the planet. When we were talking earlier about like wearing a tank top or being casual, I think it's being able to be truly authentic. And I love the authenticity of being able to share, just like you do. My first videos were terrible. All right. I'm just sharing my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my Instagram. If people are looking to hire me based on that, they're seeing authenticity, yet professionalism, if I ask your audience, what's more important, the appearance I am right now or the value of the content I'm teaching? And then I let that simmer for them and that's a multiple choice question to steer a conversation,
right.
For people. No, I love that you share that. I'm 113. Thank you. And two, that you started out because hopefully people get the lesson. No one's ever perfect.
Right. And so, Jamie, and look, a lot of professionals have the knowledge, right? But they struggle to communicate that with confidence. And we've talked a little bit about that in this conversation. What's usually getting in their way? Like, what is holding them back from doing that?
I think it's two things. One is there's a fine line sometimes between confidence and arrogance, okay. Right? Okay. I think confidence in sales, I teach, is called, the analogy I use is I'm standing on a boat holding a life preserver. and my potential client is in the water with their arm up. All right, meaning that they should be feeling, and then they shouldn't feel the only word in the whole English vocab. But you can be nervous, you can be apprehensive, you can be confident as you share. I think the main problem is when people are confident, they sometimes go into statement, like we said at the beginning. I've been doing XYZ for 10 years, or someone asks a financial advisor, "What fees do you charge?" The confident answer is, "I've been doing this for years in my head, 3.5%." Oh, and the person in front of you, psychologically, because I've studied it, is going to just say, "Yeah, I'm good, thanks," because you made it about what the fees are rather than extracting value. All right. So multiple choice. Someone says with confidence, it's got to be the self-talk when you get in front of someone to know what are the fees. Absolutely, I'll share with the fees just very quickly. Are you caring just about the fees, or do you also care about the caliber and look at the body language of the financial advisor that you're looking to choose? Well, the right red-blooded human being is going to say, "Well, of course I care about the caliber." And then it's you knowing to say, why do you care about that? And all that for a lesson in don't dictate confidence. Extract the confidence by facilitating. Some of your questions you've sent prior about leadership. The best leaders that I teach is don't dictate a meeting. Team, get off your cell phones. Team, turn your cameras on. Team, do this. Team, this is what I want you guys to achieve. Remove the words "I want" from your vocab. No one cares. My daughter, if you've got kids, my daughter came up to me at 8, "Dad, I want a cell phone." No, you're not getting one. If she started a conversation consciously, which she knows to do now, "Dad, do you care about my safety?" Oh, do you see? So I make this all a lesson in for confidence to really evolve. The leaders or the people that we're your audience, they need to ask people what's in it for them. Or they use these 4 words. This is hopefully a golden nugget. If you were me, the most perfect ways. All right. They just say, "Hey, if you were me, would you be wanting people to feel pretty confident?" All right, that in their services. And the person in front of you is going to go, "Yes." Terrific. What would be one thing? If you want to use what I call group psychology without hopefully causing overwhelm. Do you have kids? Just out of curiosity, Mike.
I've got 5 grandkids, but no kids myself.
Okay, but watch this. If I wanted to, I would just turn around and say, "Hey, look, Mike, some people will say leave a legacy." Just out of curiosity, what would be one thing that you would value more than anything in the world? And then the person's going to say legacy. And the reason I've used legacy is for this reason. They're going to say that it's priceless when I get them to the question of what value do they place on it. All right. So their fees become irrelevant at the later part of the conversation. So hopefully, and then an added tip just for confidence. When I started my business 6 years ago, I wasn't thinking necessarily I would be careful of where I'm sat right now doing this interview with you, Mike. I couldn't have foreseen that that's exactly where I would want to be. But I can tell you these 3 questions. I ask them daily of myself. First question, do I believe in myself?
Yep.
Yes. Second question, can I get someone else to believe I can help them? Third question, can I get them to place a high value on what I bring? All your audience, if they need help in their self, those 3 questions don't require you to have a business. I still don't. My sister once turned around to me and goes, "Jamie, you did next to nothing for a business plan." I said, "Carly, I'm really insulted right now." She goes, "Why is that?" I said, "Because I didn't do next to nothing. I've done nothing. I still don't have a business plans, in my opinion, as a business strategy, create analysis paralysis because everyone wants things to be perfect. If your audience thinks of their business that they're an iPhone 1, just like your first interviews were terrible, you evolve. All right. So your audience should be looking at, they don't need to have everything figured out. They got 2 individuals on this platform listening to them that, and I'll share this. I've never given a perfect talk. I've had 50% of a room sign up for trainings that I've given, and I still to this day have never given a perfect talk. All right. If someone needs I get paid handsomely to be diplomatic, to teach communication. I'm still learning communication. If they ever run into someone, and this will give them confidence, if they ever run into someone that says they sell 10 out of 10 people, run away from them because they're lying to you through their teeth. All right. And also, if I may share, confidence comes from our genuine tonality. So if they're just starting out, the people on this platform, or if they're going through a drought period, They have to anchor in their minds a positive conversation they had with a complete stranger. All right. And then suddenly that confidence will come across. But it's a self-talk first before they go into external talk. Because whatever goes through their head, oh, I don't know if this is going to go so well. The second they have that negative thought, Mike, they're elevating the chance of that happening. I went off on a tangent a bit there.
Yeah, I love it.
Did anything stick out for you?
Yeah, Jamie, because as somebody grows in this process, their confidence, their speaking, the questions, there's going to be a time where it is received negatively, creating conflict. And so as someone learning this process, when conflict arises, how do they handle those type of conflicts differently than a normal conversation?
Well, if they do the extraction of value, can I give a wax? Remember we were talking about the wax on, wax off moment?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to use my daughter. All right. Let's say she got a device, which she did eventually, not at 8, all right, because she didn't know conscious communication at that point. But when she gets a cell phone, my kids, just like most kids in society, are they on their cell phone too much? Yes. Do they want to be told, get off your cell phone? No. So I do the same play that your audience could do in their business lives, but just go with me on this. I go, Ruby, do you think it's a really good thing or a really bad thing to be on your device too much? And I stress on the word I wanted to. It's bad. Then I say, why is it bad? Get more in my. I'll end up with no friends, no social life, like a hermit in a room all by myself alone. I'm like, oh, Ruby, that sounds terrible. How? I go, how would you feel about that? She goes, I'd feel dreadful, Dad. I go, so what are your thoughts? I should be on my phone a lot less. I'm like, okay, we're in agreement there then. All right. All the sale is do we agree to think around something the same exact way? If your clients can get agreement to think the same way and end every conversation with, I agree with you, fascinating. Now, you just said conflict. Here's what I get to be. Because I'm proactive, I get to be less reactive. All right. So instead of going to Ruby, I told you, get off your device. I get to go, hey, Ruby, do you remember when we spoke here and you shared this? Were you just telling me what I want to hear or what you actually believe? I actually believe it. Okay. So what's your thoughts now? I'm going to get off my phone. Terrific. Now, your audience, if they can actually relate, instead of being a leader that is conflict, I told you in a meeting that if you do in a much calmer, better energy and sophisticated, to be like, hey, do you remember when we spoke at this meeting and you were sharing about how you were going to do this, and this? All right. And then you throw out a question. Were you just telling me what I wanted to hear, or did you genuinely believe in those things? I genuinely believe in those things. So, okay. So what do you think your thoughts should be now? Do you know what, Mike? I'm going to go do
Right.
Because communication alone doesn't necessarily affect the actions that take place. However, it does give you an ability to sleep more peacefully at night, knowing I didn't tell someone to do something. So my conflict, less.
Interesting.
I hope that they can. I'm going quick here with some things, obviously.
Yeah.
Mike, I slow it down a lot with people when I'm teaching.
Right. And I do appreciate the time, and I want to be cognizant of your time. I obviously really appreciate it. You're very busy, and so just to kind of close,
I'm actually not very busy.
Mike. I love it. I love
it. It's just a case of respecting. It's
yes.
I find sometimes that you can, even with a glorious British accent, as Mike said, that sounds really intelligent. All right, it can. My goal is always, can I leave people with more than one thing, yet not cause overwhelm? For the audience to piece together.
Well, there's certainly been more than one thing, Jamie, which I appreciate that. But for someone who wants to be more intentional with how they communicate, you've mentioned a lot of things here. What's the one small practice that they can start today? I mean, do they communicate in the mirror? Is there things they can write down? What is an action step that they can take today on their journey to be a better communicator?
Love that you asked that. I'm going to prove a point to your audience, and it's something I can't do justice with. And you asked the question, are you okay? Would you like me to be gentle or direct with you and your audience?
I'm always in for direct.
Okay. And so let's go with direct. Okay. All right. I get better in my communication because I get to do things like this. I get to teach people, things to get better in their communication. All right, Mike. And let's say I've taught something here today, and you were like, "Oh, I like that even for myself." Maybe, or your audience taking notes. Just in a one-word response to me, Mike, you asked what people can do to get better. What is one thing you should do to get better at the things that I've taught you today?
Ask better questions for me.
Okay. I'm being cheeky here.
Okay.
Most of the world will answer the word practice because they've been programmed when taught to, they've been taught in all their lives, you want to get better at something, practice. All right. And you didn't even answer the word to, and you can play this back many times and your audience can play it back. But I clearly said the word. Sometimes when I'm on stage, I'll shout it and stressing it. I said, I get better at my communication and my sales because I teach. Let's say I teach you something today and you take notes in it and stuff. What should you do to get better at something? And the whole room says practice. And so you're asking what your audience should do. True story. And you'll love this because it ties to your notion. If your audience wants to get better at stuff, teach it in 5-minute lessons. Doesn't have to be an hour-long lesson. Little things in 5 minutes, because they'll get way more opportunities to teach others in their life than they ever will waiting to practice the skill set. And the more they teach it in little lessons, I didn't invent the concept. The more we teach, the better we get. I happen to be okay at what I do. If I'm being looking to be humble with it, I'm dangerous because I teach every day. That's it. I'm only good at what I do. Like, I have former colleagues that have gone through the same training. Dude, how do you do this stuff? I'm like, I've been teaching it. They're like, I've forgotten. The amount of clients, Jamie, I've learned the stuff, but you're going to have to teach me what I've forgotten. All right. And that is in the financial advisor field. That's a big one that I hear a lot of people say. But to help your audience out, teaching mini lessons. And the first time they teach it, just to go with your point about your first podcast interviews, the first time they teach it, just setting you up for success, guys, you're going to be terrible at teaching it. All right. And you're going to see a look of complexity come over the person you're teaching your lessons to. Here's what will happen, though. You'll remember the looks of complexity for the next time. So you'll get more clear in how you teach it to the next person. And then after that, you'll get better and better at teaching it. I'll give you an example just to leave the audience with something they can teach. You've probably heard, and your audience has heard, whoever asks questions steers a conversation. All right. That is okay. There's good questions, there's bad questions to ask. All right. If they want to teach, because a lot of people will ask questions, and at the worst time, you're going through the contract, the paperwork, and a financial advisor or anyone will go, do you have any questions for me? If I ask, do you have any questions for me? I've now given control of the other person, and they're going to ask me, because I made it broad-based, where are you from? I'm like, great. Now I have to talk about London and all these things that have got no bearing on anything. Do you know this person because they think England's tiny or whatever it might be? So I'm going to make this a lesson. So what your audience can do is to teach a lesson. Don't ask someone just a broad-based, generalized, do you have any questions for me? Which a lot of them are probably doing. Instead, consciously use the word about. All right. And now you get to still control what the questions that the person asks. And predictability, because I've studied it. You're going through the meeting, you've gone to the paperwork. Instead of saying, do you have any questions for me? Say, do you have any questions specifically about anything I've gone through with you? And you'll get 1 or 2 responses, everyone. One is, no, you explained that very clearly to me. Or, I just have one question. But because you use the word specifically about, you're limiting what they get to ask you. So it makes it easy to get business. Now your audience can go out there and say, I learned this really neat thing from this random British guy that Mike Clark had on. All right. And be like, I've learned that if you're going to ask, do you have any questions for me? You still get to control what they ask you by using the word about. Here's how it goes. And then here's what will happen. They'll start just utilizing it in their subconscious mind.
And to be clear, Jamie, do you have any questions about the process? Do you have any questions about the contract? I mean, I would
go more specific. Do you have any questions specifically about anything that I've actually shared with you today from minute 1 to minute 45? And usually they're just going to say no, which makes the business more simple. If they want additional lessons, since it looks like I've got your attention, They should teach the word yet to people. All right. The word yet is the sweetest little word in sales. All right. And I'm gonna so they get to teach it not in a British accent and not word for word, but your audience can make this a lesson, people. I heard the sweetest word on the planet is the word yet. Here's how it works. Halfway through a meeting, turn around to your prospective client and just throw this question out. Have you heard everything that you need to hear from me yet to feel confident to move forward? If the potential client says absolutely yes, now they're asking for the business. What I call the seamless call to action is terrific. The next step, very simple. Here's what makes the word yet sweet. They say, no, I haven't. You still get to say, that's still terrific. What would be one thing specifically that you would want to hear to feel that sense of confidence? And now you're back into the meeting. All right. And the other way that yet is important is self-talk. If your audience is saying, I'm in May and I've not reached my goals for 2025, that's a very negative self-talk statement. Yes. If they add the word yet on the end, their psyche will change rapidly around the rest of the year just by using the word yet. So, and now that your audience, Jamie, how do we get better at that? Teach it. Teach that play. If you're teach your friends, teach people in your life, you're going to want to use the word yet. And then
Jamie, that one's easy because there's so many of our friends and our colleagues, and we asked, and I'm going to ask better questions now, but how are you? Right. Which is a very broad question.
That's the word. I listen, if I had time, I don't look, I can care about you and I can get to know you without asking, how are you? One of the, the other amateur play and the greatest sales book ever written is Dale Carnegie's How to Influence People. It's the greatest sales book on the planet ever written. The only dilemma with that book is it doesn't teach you the questions. It teaches you the principles of sales. So the problem is we become immune. Do you drink coffee?
I do.
Example. Okay. Yeah. How long have you been drinking coffee?
Sporadically for 4 years.
Okay. Do you think if you drank a coffee today, it has the same effect as the very first coffee that you've ever drank?
No.
Okay. So my point being is we become immune to things in sales. So if someone's read the book, How to Influence People, they're going to come up to you and be like, how can I be of the best service to you? Or in a scenario of that, well, I'm like, well done on reading the book. All right, you're making it about the other person, but it's robotic. We become immune to that effect. All right, it's like the words feel, felt, found.
Yeah,
the psychology works, but if someone ever said to me, Jamie, I could see why you feel that way. Other people have felt the same way, and what they found was, I would respond back to them. I could see why you feel necessary to use those words. Other people felt necessary to use those words too, and what they found was I got to congratulate them on doing Sales 101. You see what I'm proving a point on? There's the overuse in stuff like, how are you? Yeah, most people can say good. What I do, my daughter laughs, and you're going to have this as a soundbite. I take every cold call just in case someone uses a good technique that I can then teach other people, all right, what to do. I've only had one incident in 5.5 years of someone doing a decent cold call and making it warmer quickly, all right? But I take every cold call, and my daughter laughs. We're in the truck, and I've got the Bluetooth going, and they go, how are you? And sometimes they won't even give me a chance to answer it. And my daughter really loves these conversations because they go, how are you? And da-da-da-da-da. And then I go, excuse me, you just asked me, how are you? Do you genuinely care? And they go, yes. I go, well, in that case, I think I woke up at 6:01 and 31 seconds, was it? Ruby, was it 6:01, 32 seconds or 31 seconds? All right, and then I took my dog Bruce out, and he was not as regular as he usually is. He was taking his time this morning. All right. And then my daughter, Ruby, let me tell you, having a daughter getting ready for school and getting on time, they hang up on me. My point being is, remember I said conscious communication is asking the questions you want the answer to. All right. So prospecting, cold calling, if your people are using the, hi, I'm so-and-so with so-and-so company, we psychologically, we want to hang up that call. Right. So I'm the teacher that says, it's not about not sharing who you are. Be proud of who you are. Just don't make it the very first words out your mouth. All right. I'm going to listen. If you actually played back, you weren't recording this beforehand, but you go, good morning, Jamie. All right. I didn't say, hello, Mike. I said, good morning, Mike. I'm going to make this another lesson. But building rapport, people want to do business with people they feel the same as. They don't like people they do different. So in your communication, I can make someone the same, very subtly, very cold to warmer, just by you saying good morning. I say good morning. If I say hello with a British accent, I'm like, who is this guy? But you say good morning, I say good morning. You use the word kids. If I use the word children, we are different. I'm not going to develop an American accent or, you know, not wear my hat to appease you. It's the subtleness of using certain word for words, which some people are going to be like, I don't know why this person seems to get me more than other people. Right? And then there's questions you can start with the build rapport using certain wording. And again, my hope would be you can see I'm passionate about this, I can go all day. Have your audience teach people. It will help their confidence out in the lessons, and that they're going to be terrible at the start, but after 6 years of doing it, they're going to be achieving a lot more from their conversations with others.
Jamie, I love it. Thank you so much for the time. For the viewers, please, Jamie's contact information is below. If you have any questions about this particular interview, please leave them in the comments. I will forward them to Jamie. I'll answer them the best I can. Jamie, sincerely, thank you for the time. I really appreciate it, and look forward to having you on again.
Thank you. Cheers.